And women in general tend to be hard for themselves. I have to be the best mother, I have to be the best employee, I have to be the best wife.
Hi everyone, welcome to our episode 2 of Get Up Right, a show that delves into the journey and insights of women leaders who are shaping the world of finance and beyond. We are privileged today to host our guest who is currently serving as Chief Financial Officer at Indifi. She has 2 decades of experience in financial landscape. She is an alumni of the prestigious Shriram College of Commerce and a chartered accountant. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest Priyanka Wadhera to our show. Welcome Priyanka to the show and it's a privilege to host you today.
Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you for having me over.
Privilege is ours. So before getting too much into your stories and experiences, we would like to know more for ourselves and our audience about your journey and how did you become CFO and what were the challenges and everything. We would love to hear from you.
Oh, it has been such a long journey. And if you're starting from childhood, it is 40 plus years of experience. So yes, the journey has been very, very exciting, fulfilling, enriching to me. I started off with my career with PwC. My 3 years of articleship, barely 6 months of post-qualification experience there. Moving to Citi, being with Citi for 7.5 years. Post that Religare, 5.5 years.
Wow.
Very, very exciting times those were. Thereafter, I was with Barclays Shared Service, 10 clicks. And recently I've been with Indifi for close to 3 years.
Of course, enriching experience, but what part of your career has shaped your thought process towards being a leader?
Leader, I'm not sure, but the seed of reaching to the top, being a CFO, got seeded in PwC. When
that was too early in your career.
Early in my career. We would finish audits and we would sit for the final audit discussions with the CFO, and I would be completely in awe, at what is the level of position, look at their understanding, their knowledge, the way they are handling issues, directing their teams. I would be so impressed, and at that point of time I thought, agar banna hai to CFO banenge. So yes, I had that idea. The early years in your career play a pivotal role in shaping you. So did PwC, so did Citi. It gives you a very, very different perspective about teamwork, about leadership qualities, about innovation, about so many different things that you do at work. What really is passion? How do you drive numbers? How do you track numbers? That was a very, very different experience at Citi. So,
wow.
For me, I would closely, very keenly observe CFOs and leaders, general leaders, business leaders, etc. What is it they are doing? How is it that they are managing people? What is the key role of their task? Over the time, you realize that managing people, which is the most dynamic set of your profile at senior leadership, becomes most important. You may not know a particular tax law. You may not know a particular exemption in income tax or as per Companies Act. But if you're managing the set of people right, you would fall in place and your team would fall in place and your process will fall in place.
Yeah.
What is it that is clicking right? What is it that is not clicking right? What is it that he should not be doing? I used to keenly observe a lot of these characteristics for leaders. And I think over the journey, I've tried imbibing some of those. Not saying that I'm the best of all, but yes, I've tried, imbibing a lot of empathy, a lot of sympathy, basic human touches, to people.
How was your, decision making, your thought process before getting into a professional journey, like your early childhood, your education? How did they shape you and your thought process?
From the very beginning, it was imbibed in us that you should take a professional degree and you should stand on your own feet, be financially independent, don't be dependent on anybody else. I'm the younger one in the family. I have an elder sister and I've been very, very mischievous in my childhood. I barely took any responsibility and I would just be giggling around and be joyful in my childhood. That actually opened up my thought process quite a bit. In education wise, studious wise, I was very studious. I was very meticulous. The teacher would never complain that I've never done a homework, I've not done this, etc. I was always the studious, bright child of the class. But yes, personally I was very mischievous. I was always doing one or the other mischief in my childhood.
So how was it? Like, because you were very studious and of course getting good grades. Your sister was also same, or you were setting the benchmark for other kids in the society and the community?
Yes, she was good at studies, but she was good. She was more of an all-rounder. She would manage a lot of other things. I was basically studies and then khilona, etc. and being mischievous, being the naughty child. And at my home, people hardly gave any responsibility to me. They always said, "Ye choti hai" types. So I had a joyful.
Oh, nice! And you used to take advantage of that because you knew that parents won't give you work.
Lot of advantage, and my sister would shield me quite often.
Wow.
Whenever I would do something and something would break, etc. I was always shielded. So I knew there is a strong backup behind me, and I was never scared of taking any panga in the society, panga on the road, anywhere, because I knew people are standing behind me. But I think once I got through SRCC, a lot of relatives started talking and saying, "Wow, you've gotten through SRCC." SRCC was a benchmark, throughout, even at our times today.
Even today, yeah.
It is a benchmark. So I did hear a lot of relatives talk praise to my father that she's gotten through SRCC on her own. This is quite a good achievement, etc. I never felt that. I thought, it is just a normal college.
But as you mentioned, right, your family, your father, eye surgeon, then lawyers, no one was in commerce. You took your decision on your own, right? Were you scared at any point of time? You had self-doubt. What if, I don't go through this? What will happen? What will I say to my parents? Anything of that sort came across your mind?
I never had any self-doubt. So even in my journey, I've done finance, I've done risk policy, I've done compliance, I'm doing a bit of business right now. I have never had any iota of self-doubt.
Wow.
I mean, you take a goal and you work, put in serious effort towards that, you would achieve it. There might be mistakes that you do, and people more often than not, they kind of accept it. It's a journey. You are in the right direction. I think if you are focused towards that goal, you kind of achieve it. I've never been scared of taking newer responsibilities.
So how did it start? Because generally we talk to women, they say that we achieve a lot of things, but there's always been that self-doubt. So what is the difference? How is it that you say that there never been a case or time where you had that self-doubt?
As I lead teams, I have realized that women have much more self-doubt than they should be carrying.
Okay.
I would see, I would come out with a new job, with a new project, with a new assignment. Women in the team would not raise their hand. They would think, I'm not there. Men in the team who are not even in eyesight, in line of sight of that project would say, I can do it, I will do it. That is, I think, a basic this thing of a woman.
Yeah.
They are generally risk averse, is what I've seen. For me, I've been a risk taker probably because of my upbringing and because of the strong sense of support that I've always felt.
And that's a great point actually, that women themselves do not raise hand or come forward, or they are generally risk averse.
They will not raise hand till the time they are 95% prepared or there for that role. Yeah. Men would raise a hand when they are like 40-50% prepared for that role, But the difference between men and women definitely exists. That still exists, even in the youngest, strata in the organization.
Maybe this podcast will help them to realize and come forward that it's just the psychological thing. There is nothing that's stopping them.
Yes. Yeah. And we all realize that if you're picking something new, the learning curve is going to be steep. You will have to put in extra effort. You will have to do a lot more stuff than what you are currently doing. But then is the taste of success.
Yeah, exactly. Few parents or few in-laws are very vocal, right? They're very clear what they want, and they're okay not having that fulfilled 100%. But not everyone, right? So how do you manage those differences?
See, I've rarely found people who are very vocal, who will tell you, ye karo, ye na karo. Those are subtle things that you have to realize. You have to keep, experimenting with 3 or 4 different things and then keep realizing, acha, kya tick kara? Kya cheez click kari? So I would know that if I prepare over the food over the weekend, they would really like it. So मैं कोशिश करती थी, खाना वाना बहुत अच्छा बनाना आता नहीं था, but then I would take tips from my mother. She's an excellent cook, so उनसे tips लेकर घर में over weekends क्या क्या cook कर सकते हैं, etc. सबकी अपनी अपनी boundaries हैं, limitations हैं. the kind of work that I have done, बहुत बार बहुत late nights आते थे, etc. Weekend नहीं करने का मन होता था. But then what is else that you can do, etc. Lot of things. और family में हो तो family में कभी कोई problem आती है, कभी कुछ होता है. So how well do you integrate with that family? Because tomorrow if you are going to have kids and you are a working woman, तो वो in-laws में या तुम्हारे parents से किसी एक set में तो संभालना ही है.
Correct. And then you need them to reciprocate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is when you need them even more.
Yeah. So basically you have to be really objective.
Very
from
objective.
The start.
और how to make this network. उस network में एक बहुत important piece है house help का. So how do you keep your house help if you find a good one happy? So she doesn't leave you.
Yeah.
Because if you're a working woman, she is going to be very, very critical. Your spouse, the most critical. Whether the spouse understands or doesn't understand. How well does the spouse help you? Of course, वो भी एक particular set of values में grow up हुआ है.
Yeah.
वो किस level तक जाके आपको support करता है, etc. वो भी बहुत determine करता है for women. तो women independently कुछ नहीं कर पाती हैं.
Correct.
It is a set of your कितना आपको empower किया जा रहा है from the society that you will then.
Being objective, because you very early you knew that you want to be a CFO, and so you managed every bits in your plan, be it family, in-laws, kid, everyone. But what were the challenges towards this side, in the professional side? Was it easier to be CFO? Of course it wasn't, but still I want to understand your journey.
Very, very difficult. Because at the end of the day, this is a man's world. You would get bosses who are not empathetic enough, who would not understand that while you're working, but you also have lot of responsibilities at home. While you have a cook at home, but it is you who is managing the vegetables at home, who is managing, kitchen, etc., who is managing, house at home, etc. So it is indeed very, very difficult, and it becomes even more difficult if the wife of your boss is not working.
Oh yeah.
Because then they don't understand that side of a world.
Yeah.
For them, things automatically happen at home. Yeah. They don't understand it. You're in office and you have to manage home, so you're managing two things together.
Yeah.
So
right.
It is not easy, and it is a difficult time. I would be very, very honest. I've heard I've heard people and women say that it's been a very easy life, etc. Trust you me, it is not. It is not.
It's a real struggle.
It is a real struggle. Yes.
But what steps have you taken? Were there times where you were like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I would just want to give up.
There were numerous times when I broke down. I would go home and I would hug my husband. I would start crying. I would start sobbing, saying I just cannot take this pressure anymore, and I just cannot manage this because my son is at home who's not well.
Yeah.
And I have an upcoming board meeting. I have an upcoming meeting with investors where I need to present a plan, etc. And I need to be in office like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And there is a child at home who's wailing, who's crying, who's sick, who's not okay, who's not gotten a good grade in the school test. And you kind of blame yourself because you could not sit over the weekend with him. Or there are a whole host of things. I remember there was an instance when my son fell in school and he had a cut on his head. And he was bleeding, and I couldn't leave office. And my husband had to leave his work, and he had to rush, take him to the hospital, get some stitches, etc. done. And when I reached home, I was completely torn apart. I said, "What the hell am I doing in office? Why am I doing that?" But yes, in those moments, my husband really helped me and really supported me, saying, "This is just a time. ये सिर्फ एक हफ्ता है. एक हफ्ते के बाद normal है. You'll be back home on time. You'll do this." वो होता नहीं था, वो एक हफ्ता निकलता था, कुछ और प्रोजेक्ट आता था, like normal office. But yes, my spouse really helped me at that point of time. And again, the support system at home.
Yeah.
But yes, the pressures in office, etc., and the pressures at home, they are real. And women have to be such multitaskers, It is not easy. This is also the phase when most of the women, they say, okay, I don't, and they kind of hung their boots saying, nahi ho raha hai.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hold them responsible because they did not probably get the kind of support that they wanted or they needed at that point of time to go on that journey. I have seen so many such women throughout my journey who kind of at that point of time take a pause, take a break, and somehow they do not join back, or even if they join back at very lower levels, thinking that this is 10 to 6 kind of a job, I'll do it and I'll go home. I wouldn't blame them. It is all a question of how supportive the whole ecosystem is. The office ecosystem, the home ecosystem, your partners, your in-laws, your parents.
Also, sometimes you also have to make that ecosystem and empower that ecosystem so that your objective is fulfilled.
Yes, for sure. And kind of invest in that ecosystem as well.
Yeah. But speaking of that, when these days and in general also, we always talk about being a woman or men, right? Work-life balance. But I haven't ever met anyone who say, no, I have the work-life balance. I do exactly this much hours job and then spend whole time with my family and everything. What is your view on that?
Mr. Murthy has cleared it. There is nothing called work-life balance.
He doesn't even support that.
He says 70 hours is also less, which is a fact.
But it's also difficult, right? Especially because I was just thinking on the period, right? After 30s, especially for a woman, right? Your parents are aging, you have kids' responsibilities, and your career is also growing, right? So that is the time when you need to spend a lot more time in your career. And then your own hormonal changes and a lot of things. So there are multiple things. And that's the most critical period.
It is a roller coaster. When your child is, say, from 5 years to a 15 years, because after 15 years he would not need you. He would kind of become a caveman. He will get into his room, shut the door, and he would not want you. He's back into his cave. You just need to keep feeding him till the time he matures enough and comes out of the cave, say, I think at the age of 22 to 25 or whatever. But from 5 to 15, a child demands a lot of your time, energy. And your career at that point requires a lot of time, energy. Your parents start seeking your support. Parents, in-laws, anybody, they would start seeking your support because they are aging. And it is becoming difficult for them. It is such a roller coaster period.
How did you manage? Because that's the most important learning everyone would have, of course, with others. Because that's the period where women give up. Like, I can't handle, and whatever ambition I had, I will have to let go. So, what do you suggest, and how did you manage that period?
I frankly had a very, very robust support system with respect to my son at that point of time at home. So when I was in office, I was little carefree because I knew there is, there are my mothers who are at home who are taking care of the child. I have a very supportive spouse who would know कि अच्छा भी plan का period चल रहा है, so she will be coming late for this week, and thus he will reach home early, taking care of the child. He will take the child outside for lunch, for dinner, for whatever, and say, mom is not there this week, but she will be back next week. Do not worry. One of the good things that I did in my life, I got married at 26 and had my child at 28.
So that helped.
So by the time you reach to a CFO kind of a level, your child is touching 15, becoming a caveman, not needing you like every now and then. But yes, the emotional or the need that mother is at home still remains. The guilt still remains, and it remains throughout your life that you are not spending enough time with the child. That guilt remains forever with you. And time flies very, very quickly. You don't even realize that the child who was 1 year sometime back is now 16 for me. So the child's grown all of a sudden. But
But you can't just let go of your things, right? Like your ambitions and then a lot of other things, and that impacts kid also. If a mother is working, right, the value system and the way they look towards society, women, a lot of things changes. I think it is now needed for kids also.
I think that should help his future wife for sure.
She should be thankful to you.
Working mother is, a working lady is, and thus he should know how to support the partner when the partner is off to work, in home with children, etc.
Correct.
They have grown up in this kind of an environment.
Right. Yeah.
So I hope to bond with my future daughter-in-law quite well there.
And she would be very thankful to you. Have you ever cribbed about your boss?
Lot of times, because lot of times you get not only your boss but a lot of people in leadership team. because they would not understand the struggles of a woman. In general, they would be hard on lot of employees, men, women, agnostic. But in general, towards women, you'll have to have an extra touch, because you have to understand they are running a race which is far longer. Track is far longer than what men are running.
Right.
Yes, lot of times. Lot of times.
So you being in leadership position, you do something different for your team.
I try to.
Yeah.
That is what I have imbibed in myself. Whenever I would see a trait which is not okay for a leader, I would kind of keep repeating that in my head, saying this is something not to be done. This is something not to be done, and I try to do that. And there would be lot of inputs that I would be that would be there for my team, for me, saying कि ये आप करते हो जो अच्छा नहीं है. That always exists.
That will always be there. Once you have become boss, then yeah, there'll be both the parts to it. You like work from home or coming to office?
Coming to office, hands down, coming to office. That is more productive. You kind of set some boundaries into these are my working hours. While you may check your emails, take calls while you're going home or at home, but then still there is a limit to your boundary to your office hours.
Yeah. What do you do for yourself which gives you happiness, or me time, or
well, okay, so I like spending a lot of time with my son, which I try doing. It is limited because he may not be deriving the same amount of pleasure, but yes, I love gardening. So I spend some time, over weekdays, but a lot of time over weekends with my plants. That is something that I really do. And generally, catching up with people. I kind of do keep networking while it is commuting or not commuting or over weekends. I do network with people across.
And you love driving, you not driving but going on long drives.
I love driving, but not driving on the Delhi traffic. So I do a commute every day from Delhi to Gurgaon. That's quite a commute. That's
Oh, I'm sure Delhi to, oh my God, people just blame Bangalore. But if they have traveled from Delhi to Gurgaon or vice versa, they would know there is no difference at all.
Yes.
So now next section we'll talk about few stereotypes that we have. Since we ended with driving question, probably let's pick it up from here. I'm sure you would have also heard that people gently just comment of us, right? If someone is not taking a right turn well, they'll be like, oh, female driver, no, oh, that's okay, female driver. Like people stereotype it, right?
Yes, they do.
Like why?
And you can also face that on the road.
Yeah.
So when you have a male who's overtaking you, he'll be little rash when he's overtaking you versus when anybody would do that to your husband.
Yeah.
I've faced that lot of times.
But what is your view? Are female bad drivers, good drivers, or like neutral, like they're just drivers?
They're just drivers like everybody else. Yeah. And when somebody takes a panga with me on the road, I take double panga. I feel like that. And so many of my male colleagues, if I'm dropping them, they're going with me to some office event, etc. They have seen that. And they say, Priyanka ma'am, what are you doing? ये मत करो. I will say, रुको, तुम अभी देखो, अभी हम कुछ करेंगे.
And there's one more, stereotype that people believe in, but they don't really talk about it because then people don't want to be tagged as hypocrites. But are there few professions or job roles which are gender specific?
Not really gender specific, but yes, the proportion of women is considerably lesser. Technology is one such area where historically I've seen number of women being very less. Then there are certain pockets in an organization where I've seen women being less. Banking per se, the number of women is quite good because it is a cleaner job, on desk kind of a job. So it kind of helps women really. But yes, I've seen over the years that technology, etc., the number of women is considerably less. So in my team, women proportion is much more than men. There are roles in my team that I have, reserved for men only. Because the entire smaller team, is completely women, and you need at least one male diversity candidate there. There are roles like education, etc., which are limited number of hours, blends well with the family life. So, women may go into those kind of roles.
So how is the gender ratio? Because in finance, earlier days, women were not, going to higher educations or SRCC like school or whatever, right? And then getting into it, then how is the ratio, and who were your role models in women? Women leaders, if I particularly can ask.
Oh, women leaders, the role models have been changing ever since. When we were in school, colleges, that was the first time. We had Sushmita Sen, Aishwarya Rai winning crowns, world crowns, etc. for us. That was a very empowering moment. So leaders, new leaders emerge, and you kind of get inspired from them. The latest one I remember is the tribal woman from Odisha who got this award for stapling, I think 30,000, 50,000 trees, and she came barefoot to Rashtrapati Bhavan to take Padma Shri in her normal sari clad, etc. We had an LGBT lady who came and who actually, while receiving the award, she took a nazar utarna of the Prime Minister. She did. It was, all of these things are so inspiring and empowering at the same time. Things have changed so much from that days. But yes, in SRCC, gender ratio was reasonable. I wouldn't say 50-50, but it was reasonable.
Okay.
Particularly because women are very studious. They kind of score better marks. Every year in CBSE result, women are on the top than men. Articleship also with PwC, we had reasonable number of women in spite of longer hours, a sector that we would put in. And City was a flag bearer. We had like 40-60 kind of a ratio, 40 women, 60 men. City had very good policies on women, and they were very, very supportive. So I have never seen a gender issue in banking per se, and I've been in banking throughout. I've not seen. There would be certain pockets of departments within the banking, something like a collection,
or maybe sales,
or maybe a little bit of sales. Sales also in City was women focused. There were so many women. We had women leaders in sales, the top 2 positions being held by women, etc.
Wow.
So yes.
When we were talking, right, even when you were graduating, or even I have seen, right, till the time of graduation, initial years of the job, the ratio, gender ratio would be fine. But eventually that will reduce, and we have seen that female representing in board would be far lesser. Like as of now, if we talk about as 19% something, and the CFO representation is around 15% only. Whereas you yourself said that women are there in your team a lot more than men. So how that happens? Why it decreases over the time?
Because over the years, once you get married and you have children and you have aging parents, women tend to drop off because they are not the main breadwinner of the family. So they tend to drop off to look after family, etc. Again, it depends on what is the kind of support system you have at home. If you do not have that support system, then they generally tend to drop off. And at the same time, what are the policies at an organization level? Are they women focused or not? Are they helpful to a women? These days, a lot of organizations, they provide special benefit to women who are returning from a break. Whether that is a maternity break or a marriage break or a caretaking break, etc. So those policies are evolving.
Correct.
And we do hope that in future we would see much more women participation, boardroom representation, etc. for women.
And also with that, not a stereotype but just an observation, though women are good in talking, right, they also good in networking, but why they don't prefer networking?
Because networking involves a lot of time and energy. Taking up something new, taking up something different. At a lot of time, women don't even understand how a networking is different from an office chit chat, etc. Sitting with a colleague and drinking coffee. And a lot of times they don't have the time, energy left to dedicate on a serious networking. And women in general tend to be harsh on themselves. I have to be the best mother. I have to be the best employee. I have to be the best wife. My house should be clean. This should be like that. Food should be very well cooked. You can't be best at everything. You're gaining something, you'll have to let go of something else. So it is actually a balance. You can't be, number one at everything. That doesn't happen with anybody. But we women, we tend to be very, very harsh on ourselves. Saying कि ओहो बच्चे के मार्क्स पूरे नहीं आए मेरी प्रॉब्लम है अब मैं बैठ के इसको पढ़ाऊंगी भी मैं ये भी करूंगी
correct.
That happens.
We can't do everything. Now coming mostly towards the last section where the young women, right, who are starting their career and who want to be, leader in future, what would be your advice to them?
Oh, very difficult. The next generation or the new generation is so smart, and they know so much more than what we knew when we were starting our careers. But yes, setting up a goal for yourself early on in your life is very important. I married early, 26, and I had a child quite early, 28. I do recommend the same, because if you have your child in late 30s, when your career is progressing, demanding a lot of longer hours in office, etc., and your child is growing at that point of time, very, very young, adolescent, lower than adolescent age, young age, etc., then it becomes very, very difficult to juggle the two roles together.
Correct. Yeah.
So I generally do recommend women that if you want to get married earlier, have children sooner than later. Nothing changes with children. That is what my advice generally to women is. But again, invest in network, invest in your family, invest in your in-laws. It pays. It really pays. Invest in your spouse. Really pays. And pick up your spouse after much consideration. That is one relationship that you will start and will be with you till the end. Be very, very pragmatic while picking up that person. Don't get emotional. Be very practical.
Yeah, I think the common point either in professional or personal is be objective, be pragmatic, and think, how it would help you to achieve your goal. It's very, very important.
Very important.
Does it help to have female friends who are supportive, where you can vent out, and having women leaders in your network who can help you?
As mentors who can help you, chart out your own path. It really helps. It really helps.
And now number of role models, inspirations are increasing, of course, right? So we can reach out to a lot more people like you than in the earlier times. Yes. I think very less number of people. Okay, so we'll end this session with the last question. Who is one women leader that you would like to meet and probably share your journey or understand her journey in person?
Oh, there are so many of them, so many across the world. The ones that are coming to my mind would be the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Oh, yeah.
Ardern is her surname. She made such a powerful comment in the Parliament saying that compassion and leadership, people always tell me compassion and leadership doesn't go hand in hand. It does, and it should. Such a powerful comment, because women generally are very compassionate, empathetic, compassionate, etc. Such a powerful comment. In our own country, Nirmala Sitharaman, people hardly knew her like 2 decades.
Yeah, no one.
20 years back, nobody knew her.
Yeah,
she's in the forefront, leading the budget, and look at her latest speeches. She is coming across so strong.
Yeah.
Across, there's so many women leaders, and why go far away? I had a boss, she would run a marathon, get up at 4:30, run marathon. She was the CFO at Clicks. She is right now with SBI Capital, which is Rashmi Mohanty. She would manage her home. She had 2 grown-up kids. She was managing so much, and I would always be in awe. And she would still take out times for marathons in South Africa, in Hyderabad, in places that I would not have even heard of, and she would be accomplishing them, etc. So many such women that you would want to interact more closely and listen to them, hear their stories, etc. across the world.
Wow.
And we do hope for all women in leadership that we are able to inspire a lot more women to come up and take those leadership roles. It is difficult, but it is not impossible.
Yeah, and I think we are there, we are getting there. So eventually we'll be there. But it was such a fun to speak to you, and lot of things that even I didn't know it. Really important, being objective, evolving your ecosystem continuously. It's so important, but you just take it for granted sometimes, and sometimes do not even give importance to it, that it is important. And I'm sure all our audience, being young or experienced or leaders already, would love this session and learn from your journey. So thank you so much for being with us. So thank you everyone. Thank you for watching this podcast. Thank you.